Okay, I think we should go ahead and get started.
Okay.
All right. So welcome everyone. And we are going to put up a slideshow that we're going to go through. We aren't going to read it out, but we are going to discuss the points on it. If you would like that presentation sent to you, please key in your email address and we'd be happy to send it along. All right. Really the goal of this is to kind of differentiate, as Heidi mentioned, between independent and assisted living. What does that mean? Exactly, because I think a lot of people have a misconception that they move into a community like Knollwood when they need help, which you can, but that would be moving into assisted living,
Correct.
not into independent living. So hopefully we can help clarify that for you all today. We are going to go ahead and get started on our presentation. So as we mentioned, the goals to kind of differentiate between assisted living and independent living. There are also a lot of acronyms you will hear when looking at communities, specifically looking at care levels like assisted living or skilled nursing. So we're going to decode some of those acronyms and discuss the criteria and payment. Okay. Per usual, we like to kind of do an overview of the community.
So Knollwood's a nonprofit. We are located in a residential neighborhood in Northwest DC across from Rock Creek Park. We are very fortunate. We have 16 beautiful landscaped and natural acreage. We are a community starting out at 62 and better, and we are a life plan community. So we have 5 different levels of care. We start out with independent living and then assisted living, skilled nursing, rehab, and memory care. And we are one of the few communities that I know of that are in a residential neighborhood.
Yeah, it's really nice. As Heidi mentioned, we're on 16 acres and it's a well-established neighborhood, lots of old trees. So even though, you know, we are a kind of larger building, not very tall, but you know, widespread building, you still feel like you're in nature and it's quiet. You're in DC proper without all the hustle and bustle of the downtown, which is nice.
So I would just like to say before we go on, if you have not taken a tour of Knollwood, I really encourage you to call Helen or I. And we do our tour scheduled. We unfortunately can't meet with you if you walk in because we're probably with somebody that has already scheduled. However, it's something that we cannot show you in pictures or even describe. You really need to come and see it around yourself and meet some other people.
Absolutely. Okay, back to our presentation. Types of communities. So as Heidi mentioned, we are a life plan community. Everything is here on one campus, all levels of care. What's nice too about our community is that we're one building. We're not a high rise, we are garden style, so it's not very tall building, but we are widespread. We wrap down and around the hill. So everything is under one roof, which is really nice, especially if friends or couples are at different levels of care. You can still, you know, go between the two without being exposed to the elements, like yesterday morning snow. There are other communities that are, you know, freestanding, independent or assisted, or sometimes a combination of assisted and independent as well.
So we're going to give you a little scenario to try to help you understand the differences between the communities and the neighborhoods. And so we have a scenario for you that we're going to read and test you on, and then we'll come back to the answer later. Do you want to do this one?
Sure. So you have a couple here. It's Jane and John, and their community has some kind of standard things like socializing, educational programs. They offer housekeeping and dining. They both need a reminder to take medication. Jane gets around easily. John's a little bit more slow. Jane doesn't clean or cook anymore. Their apartment has a kitchenette, and Jane does need help showering. John has a stable but chronic illness. So we are asking, what type of community do Jane and John live in? And we just want you to kind of write down what you think the answer is, and we will come back to this. Okay. This is our next scenario.
So we have another one. So Julie lives in a community offering socializing, educational programs, housekeeping, dining options. She gets around really easily, but she no longer drives at night. Julie no longer cleans and cooks less than the past years, and she has diabetes and sometimes cheats on her diet. So what community do you think is Julie living in? And now we're just gonna go and talk across some of the language of the community.
The lingo.
The lingo, yes.
So we are, as Heidi mentioned, a life plan community. There are various types. We are a type C, which is often referred to as fee for service. And essentially that means you pay for care when you use it. So prices increase as you move through the continuum to higher levels of care. Okay.
So as you're touring other communities, which I always, tell you, if you're investigating, you certainly want to tour 2 or 3 communities. And you will see the different types. You'll see type A, type B, type C. So sometimes you'll pay more for independent living because the idea is that when you need assisted living, your monthly payment doesn't change much.
Yeah, and you're kind of buying into future care, almost prepaying for it.
Correct. And that's an okay plan, great plan. However, there is a possibility you'll never use
Yeah.
what you paid for. And if you have long-term care insurance also, you've kind of done that.
Yes.
Because when you go to assisted living, that's when that can kick in.
Yep.
So if you have questions about that, we won't get into the long-term care insurance today. You can definitely give us a call. But just wanted to kind of let you know the differences between the life plan community types.
So we're gonna differentiate between the IADLs, instrumental activities of daily living, as well as the ADLs, which will be on the next page. Instrumental activities of daily living are things that you do all the time, but you don't necessarily think about, like maintaining your household, cleaning up, managing your money, paying your bills, getting groceries, basic things, using a phone to call somebody. Basic things that you do as a grown human to care for yourself that you don't even really think about.
There are things you and I are doing every day.
Exactly. And it's important to differentiate between those and the items on the next slide, which are the activities of daily living, because when someone starts to need care, typically after medication management, will come assistance with these activities of daily living. And that's when someone would be a candidate for assisted living. So
Things like bathing.
Yep.
Hygiene, grooming, dressing. One way I kind of think about this is more hands-on. Someone's going to be putting their hands on you, touching you, handing you medication. When you need more hands-on assistance with your life.
Yes.
Or with the first list that we mentioned, if those things are difficult for you.
Yes.
And you need someone to help you with those things as well, then that also is a good indicator.
Yeah, exactly. If you can't manage your money, if you're making bad choices, not paying your bills, and your family or your friends, neighbors have to step in and help with that, or
Not taking your medication,
or maybe you are not going to the grocery store and therefore you're not eating. It's all of these things kind of rolled into one. And some of them, as Heidi mentioned, are more hands-on things. Other things show a declining cognition. Being able to function as an adult and take care of and maintain your life. Okay. There are so many acronyms, and
we try hard to not use them because we understand that every industry has its own language.
Yes.
And it can be very confusing. So we try to say the full words here. I'm a little guilty sometimes working in the industry for so long. Sometimes I do throw them out there and I've had people ask what it was, so I apologize. But we are going to go through what they are for you, just in case you hear them in other parts of your search and research. You'll understand what some of these mean.
Yep. So IL and AL, those are pretty common. IL for independent, AL for assisted. SNF, you'll hear sometimes SNF for skilled nursing facility. We did go through the instrumental activities of daily living, IADLs, as well as the ADLs, the activities of daily living. And then, of course, CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. There's also therapies.
PT is physical therapy, OT is occupational therapy, ST is speech therapy, and SLP is speech language pathology.
More acronyms just to really keep it going. These are all nursing related. So you have LNHA, a licensed nursing administrator, NHA for nursing home administrator, the ADN or ADON, which is the assistant director of nursing, RN, LPN, and LVN, licensed vocational nurse.
And then the CNA is a certified medical aide, and the CNA is a certified nurse's assistant. And you will probably hear us talk about these two quite a bit today, as they are definitely kind of when you realize the difference between independent and assisted is when you're going to need a certified medicine aide or a certified nursing assistant to help you, and those are in the assisted living.
Yep, exactly. We do want to point out that a companion is not a certified individual necessarily. I could be living at Knollwood and, you know, maybe just needing some company, and I could be having Heidi come and be my companion and sit with me, or maybe Heidi takes me to Target so I can go run my errands and have fun. That is different than an aide who is helping you take a shower or helping you get dressed. You know, someone has to have that certification in order to, as Heidi mentioned, use their hands on you. That's a regulation, you know, if someone's helping you at that level where they're helping you get dressed or brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, that can't just be, you know, Joe Schmo from the street as a companion. That has to be a certified nursing assistant, a CNA.
And I'll tell you a story that will kind of help you just figure that out. And also, just to know, is when you're trained to be a certified nurse assistant, you have training on how to dress somebody or get somebody off of a chair without hurting them or damaging them.
And yourself.
And yourself. And I know that I have, in my experience, seen people that weren't trained and they tried to dress somebody and they've dislocated their shoulder. Because people are very stiff and it's very difficult if you haven't been taught how to do it. And also, if you try to get somebody out of the chair and you haven't been trained, you can hurt yourself and you can hurt them. So my mom, she is in her late 70s. She's had several strokes. She has to live with family now. And she called me the other day. She was a CNA my whole life, a certified nurse's assistant. And she called me the other day and she said, I got a job. I'm really excited. And I went into panic mode because I said, Mom, you cannot be a CNA. You can't pick people up. You're going to hurt yourself. And who hired you? This is dangerous. And she said, no, I'm a companion. So what my mom will be doing is playing cards with this person and asking this person what they need. And if they need something, they live in a very tiny town, it's 5-mile radius. She calls a CNA to come and do those things.
Yep.
So that is the difference between companionship and a CNA. My mom's just there to make sure that person's safe, make sure they're not lonely.
Yeah.
But she can't touch them.
Yeah.
Because that would be dangerous for her and it would be dangerous for them. Yep. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of.
I think it's helpful.
Yeah.
I think it's helpful to differentiate, because I think a lot of the times there can be confusion that, oh, I can just have my daughter come in and help me. And you know, it's a fine line, because once they start engaging in those things that are your activities of daily living, and your daughter's not just managing your bills, it becomes very dangerous for both parties.
And especially for spouses, I want to touch on that too.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of spouses that are doing the caregiving for their loved ones. And we all know, we've all seen in the industry that often the spouse that's a caregiver ends up declining at a faster rate than the person being cared for.
Yes.
Okay, we'll talk a little louder. Thank you for your cues. And And so at that, if you are a spouse that's giving care to your loved one, that's really, really hard, and it can really be,
Can take an emotional and physical toll, absolutely, and cause that individual to decline quickly as well. And it's just more risky. If I am 78 and my husband is, 85, and I'm standing outside the bathroom while he's taking a shower, if he has a fall and I try and help him up, that's risky for me too. He could pull me down, and then we're both in trouble, big trouble. So I think in general, we want to just encourage people, especially, as they come here, if you want to know more about the difference between the two levels of care, or what a transition between levels of care looks like, we can talk you through that. But we really just want to emphasize that the beauty of assisted living is that you're paying to get help with all of these things, and you have a great team behind you, an individualized care plan, and it's just a safer environment, which is the best part. You still get to be part of this wonderful community, participate in the activities, and do all the fun things, but you have that safety net and you have that built-in care.
and if you're in a continual care community, the really great thing about that is, if you're a couple, is you're still under the same roof, you're still in the same community, you can have dinner together, activities together, but you have somebody there doing the caregiving, and it also relieves you to go and do some things for yourself. Maybe you're losing all of your social aspects of your life while you're being a caregiver. Your hobbies have kind of fallen to the wayside, and this is how you'll start to decline. You'll not be exercising and going for your daily walks with your friends, or you're not seeing your friends and getting their emotional support. So in a continual care community, one person could be in assisted living, one person could be in independent living, and you're still spending a lot of valuable time together. And you're also having some separation to not be the caregiver and go off and do the things you would like to do again.
Exactly. Okay. As you are touring communities and looking around, these are some kind of key things we want you to keep an eye out for, that's going to help you visually and mentally kind of differentiate between independent and assisted living. So an apartment in independent living is going to have a full kitchen. Typically, it's going to have some kind of dining plan option, whether there's a dining plan or it's pay as you go or whatever. Meals are not going to be included as part of what you're paying monthly. Residents in general are going to have a car. You're going to see more residents' vehicles. There's going to be a bunch of different floor plan choices, and there isn't any licensure for care versus assisted living, where you're going to have a kitchenette, so no stove. Danger, danger, danger. Meals are going to be included. You're not really going to see resident cars. It's mostly going to be employee cars. More limited selection of floor plans. And the total amount of apartments is going to be equal to the amount of apartments licensed for assisted living. You're also going to see round-the-clock care, which is going to be in the form of nurses, aides, and then also there will be a social worker available. So that's just some things to keep in mind as you're viewing these communities.
And assisted living falls under a state regulation umbrella. So under that umbrella is listed what care they can give. And independent living doesn't have that. Assisted living does. And I will get into that a little bit more, but that is why a continual care community is so important, because if you ever are no longer qualified to be in assisted living because of your care needs, you can stay right on campus if you need more care in skilled nursing.
Oh, we've got some
Questions
coming in. When should you start investigating assisted living if you're still independent?
So I would say that if you are still completely independent, start investigating now, because then you get to make your own choices and decisions. A lot of people don't want to think about this. Who does? And they wait until there has been an emergency. Somebody has had a fall or a stroke. They're in the hospital, and the discharge planners and physicians are saying this person can no longer go home. You have not even chosen a place, you don't even know where to go.
Yeah.
And in that emergency, you may end up pretty far away from your family.
Yeah.
So I would say it's never too soon to make a plan. It's just like planning for anything. Planning for retirement is planning this portion as well. And
Yeah, you don't want to wait. When there is an emergency, your options are going to be limited. It's going to be based upon who has an assisted living apartment open. And the timing on getting that to work out. No.
plus, there's just so much already going on.
Yeah, it's
emotionally.
already stressful, and the realization, oh my gosh, I'm no longer independent, and all of
can't
this,
go home.
right? It's a lot. So if you're independent now, we recommend now is the time you do the searching. Now is the time you start. If you're looking at life plan communities or continuing care communities like Knollwood, what's great is you can move in independently and move through the continuum as needed. In general, a lot of people stay in independent living for a very long time because they've already made the smart choice to eliminate some of those obstacles that could create issues in the future, things like stairs.
Lack of nutrition, lack of social life. It has been shown that if you move into independent living, Berkeley did this study, I keep talking about it, so I've got to pull it. But if you move into independent living, you're less likely to go into assisted living for all of the reasons that it keeps you healthier.
Yeah.
Your nutrition is going to be better. Your social life is going to be better. You've got eyes on you. I mean, even it's moving into a small town community. So even the residents will say, oh, I haven't seen so-and-so. I'm concerned about her. Or she always comes to breakfast at 8. Where is she? There's just all this extra support and eyes on you.
Yeah.
Wow, you look like you've lost a lot of weight. Have you talked to the nurse lately?
Yeah.
There's just a lot of that versus living in your home alone or just one person that sees you on a continuum.
Exactly. Another question we got was, can couples be together and assisted even though one is still independent? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes. Obviously you'd be paying a lot more. So that's the downside. And it also depends on availability. So here at our community, in general, couples aren't in assisted living together, although very rarely, sometimes there are. And so for us, we have 2 assisted living apartments that are for couples out of our 43. So it's just more limited. But it is doable for sure.
So my opinion on it is it's very expensive for something you don't need.
Mhm.
You're going to be paying almost $9,500 for assisted living. If you have long-term care insurance and you don't have a need, it will not kick in. And so you could get a small apartment in independent living and you're living in the same house in a different bedroom.
Yeah.
Is the way I view it. And you can still spend as much time as you want together. So it doesn't always make sense to me. And you're still going to typically end up being that caregiver. If you're always there and always living with them, you'll have caregivers, but you're the spouse, you're the loved one, you're who they're going to feel comfortable with. You're probably going to want to do it.
Mhm.
So if you don't need care, I don't suggest it, but it can be done.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about eligibility, and this is just going back to some of the things we already mentioned. Kind of stressing them. So things like the ability to safely and wisely manage your household. Again, going out and getting groceries. These are your independent activities of daily living, your IADLs. Can you take care of your day-to-day life, pay your bills, get your groceries, run your errands? Also, you need to be not having any care come into your home, and you need to not be cognitively impaired. If someone comes in here tomorrow and says, I want an independent living apartment, and they don't know what their medications are, when they're supposed to take them, and they don't remember that I've already met with them 3 times, and this is their 3rd visit here, and my name's Helen, then, that's not good. I don't think we would be recommending that they explore independent living further. Also at Knollwood, when we have people moving into independent living, we really want them to be able to stay in independent living for at least 5 years. as well as have the funds to last their life expectancy here at Knollwood. Those are some of our eligibility criteria. In general, Knollwood versus a rental, it's structured financially a little bit differently. Here you pay an entrance fee as well as a monthly service charge versus a rental, you're just paying that monthly fee. And so they may not be looking into your financials in the same way that Knollwood would. That's what that little caveat at the bottom says.
And if you run out of finances at a lot of communities I worked in the past, there's really nothing they can do. They're a business and they'll have to have you move out. We're a nonprofit, we have a foundation, we also pay your entry fee as a little bit of security if you need it. So you will always have a place, you'll never be asked to leave. And we also can, well, unless there's like a behavioral issue or something, but we also can keep you here, unless you need a hospitalization or something. We have all of the different neighborhoods that we mentioned, including palliative and hospice care, so.
Yeah, so now we're gonna talk a little bit about the eligibility for assisted living. So, again, you need to be safe to live in an apartment, and kind of be able to get around the community of assisted living on your own. In general, transfer independently, so that means getting in and out of the chair, out of the bed by yourself. You need to be able to feed yourself, either be continent or be able to participate. So, I need to, so maybe you're incontinent, but you can say, okay,
Express your needs.
yep, I've gone to the bathroom, whatever. And cooperate in taking medications. And then in general, kind of a good rule of thumb is in assisted living, you're going to be getting some help with your activities of daily living. So you, in theory, should be able to do some. Maybe I can brush my teeth and brush my hair, but I can't really pull my pants up, and then I'm unsteady in the shower, so somebody needs to be there to help me with that kind of thing. Okay.
We got some more questions as well. I just wanted to mention, I get a lot of calls of people that want to join the wait list, but they're only going to move out of their home when they need care. And you can move to our assisted living. However, it's if we have availability. Because we are a continual care community, we of course have smaller assisted living, and that's going to kind of answer your questions in just a second. Then we do independent living is our biggest neighborhood, and then our skilled nursing and our memory care and our assisted living are much smaller because they actually are a transitional space for us.
Yes.
And so there's not always going to be availability if you wait and come at that point. I also feel like you're not getting the real benefit of the community.
Yeah. So about 70% of our population is independent living, and primarily we feed assisted living and skilled nursing internally, especially skilled nursing. We really almost never take people from the outside anymore. All of our rooms are private rooms at that level of care, so there just isn't a lot of space. We have 43 assisted living units. And as Heidi said, you can, get on our waiting list for assisted living, but do we have availability? Will the timing work out? It's really hard to know. And the best part of Knollwood is the sense of community and all the wonderful activities we have. So why not take advantage of that while you're still able to, and move in while you're in independent living?
And a lot of people don't want to give up their lives, but
Yeah.
if you live locally and you move here, you can still keep your life.
Still have your book club.
You're just getting more friends and more support, and maybe you don't have to worry about the furnace going out this winter. And if your dishwasher breaks, you can call us. Maybe you're tired of the stairs.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a little lonely and it's harder for you to get out of the house, and you can walk down to an activity. So there's a lot of advantages of taking care of taking advantage of the entire community. This question asks, does the caution you provided about your options now suggest your independent living residents have a priority over your skilled nursing or assisted living when discharged from the hospital? And the answer is yes. So that's part of being in a continual care community. And that's why we don't often have space. Like we've said, it's really difficult to get into our rehab, which we have really good reviews, and there's the word out. So we get calls from discharge planners all the time, all day long, asking us to please take people in. And same with our skilled nursing. We have private rooms because it's considered a private nursing care, so it's beautiful and looks very different from the public nursing centers that you will see. If we have room, we will try. If you are on our waiting list, you have priority over somebody that's not. So first is the people that live here now, they are first priority. And then we do try to get people that are on our waiting list into our rehab if they need short-term rehab, or if something happens and one person has had a decline. I've had people on my waiting list where it's a couple and one person has had something happen. If you are on our waiting list, then we will certainly try harder. It's just how kind of the community works in some of those areas are small.
In general, we more often than not, definitely at skilled nursing, do not take people in from the outside just because there's no space. And if there is a space, most of the time we have someone from assisted living who needs to transition. Luckily right now we do have 1 or 2 assisted living spots open, and that are not claimed by internal transition. So if someone needs assisted living,
Act now.
like call us today, tomorrow, type in your email, say I want a tour, because we have the availability for outside people right now, and it's not often that happens. So
We actually have a couples apartment as well.
Yep.
And I will tell you that a lot of times for me, I've noticed throughout my career that at Christmas time, people come and see their families they haven't seen in a long time, and mom sounded great on the phone, and now you're looking at her and you're shocked at the decline. And so we get really busy right after Christmas for assisted living.
Yeah, it's true. When you see your loved one in person, you're like, oh my gosh, the house is a mess. You look disheveled. I thought you were okay, but maybe you need a little bit of help, and that's okay.
Or families are all in town to make a decision at last.
Yep.
And they all want to be together.
Yeah.
So this is just a busy time. So if this is something that you're thinking about, or you feel like there's someone that needs this immediately, please reach out to us.
Absolutely. Okay, back into our slideshow. We're nearly there, kind of. So we're gonna talk a little bit about regulatory comparison between independent and assisted living. We sort of went through some of this.
You did.
Heidi already mentioned there's, in independent living, you don't have the state regs. There's no care licensure versus assisted living, lots of regulations. It's at the state level, there's a registered nurse 24/7, and you have LPNs that can administer medications and individuals who are there to provide supervision and personal care services. We're going to go back to our little tests. So we're going to switch it up. We're going to do the one that Heidi did first. So you remember Julie. We're not going to reread it. But kind of the big things that we wanted to mention was she doesn't drive at night. She doesn't clean or cook as much. And she has diabetes, but sometimes cheats. So what all did you write down for your answer?
You can key them in if you want. It'd be fun for us to see.
All right, let's see what we've got here. So Julie is independent, just because she doesn't drive at night or she cooks less and sometimes cheats on her diet. Okay, so what? Those are all normal things. As if I had diabetes, Lord knows, it would be very hard to stick to my diet, None of those items preclude her from living in independent living. Okay.
I don't like to drive at night.
Yeah. People are crazy. Hello. If you live in DC, you never know. All right. So we're going to move to the next test. And this was our couple here, Jane and John. So some of the things we just want to mention again, that they both need medication reminders. Jane doesn't cook or clean anymore, and their apartment has a kitchenette. And then additionally, John has a stable but chronic illness. And they are in assisted living. And so the medication reminder, the kitchenette, and the stable, the help with showering.
Showers.
Yep, that's an activity of daily living. And the stable but chronic illness. Those are all, those are all some things.
So maybe that kind of showed you the differences. So just so you have a mind speed, like independent living is for less stress of the home. You know, like we mentioned, less stress of repairs, less stress of maintenance, stairs, maintenance, what else? Just all the things in taking care of a home.
Yeah.
And, but in independent living, you don't have care staff. People often will come in for a tour and ask me about medication management or what do they do if they get sick. You are living in a senior housing apartment complex is a way to look at that.
Yeah.
We do have a little clinic. We do have people that will check on you and things like that. But you will not be receiving medication management, any care at all like that. Now, I'm not even going to get into it. If you're here for a little while, we do have a little bit of care you can get.
You can, let's say I've been here for 10 years and in my 8th year here, losing it a little bit, maybe I just need some assistance with my medication. I can pay the clinic to set up medication management for me, but that's not someone moving into independent living can need.
And you really shouldn't need any of that for at least 5 years. And we would look at that. We do an assessment for independent living. A lot of communities for independent living do not. We do because we want it to be a true independent living community. If you come into our community, you'll see people as young as 62. You'll see people that are still thriving, working. And you'll see people that have actually aged in place here. And we've got residents reaching 100 that have been here for 20 years and they are still pretty independent. And then we have some people that are getting care, but they also have been here for a really long time, getting care in their apartments. So I just wanted to kind of make that clear, and hopefully I didn't make it more confusing.
Yeah, we've got one more test we're gonna do. Our last test of the day. Lucky you. Hopefully, where it's like 2 rolled into 1, so it counts as 1 test. So we're gonna ask, true or false, Medicaid covers assisted living costs. The answer is drum roll. It's mostly false. So in general, Medicaid is going to kick in at a higher level of care. The highest level of care is skilled nursing, long-term care, memory care. Here, our memory care is the skilled nursing level. But in general, you're not going to see Medicaid coming into play in assisted living. Now, there are 2 assisted living properties in DC that do have Medicaid waivers. And those thresholds vary state to state, but most of the time it's a no-go.
So I have even worked in Utah, which requires each community, every community in Utah has to take Medicaid for up to 6 beds. Even in those, and even in that state where there were all those communities, we had 2-year waiting list. So it's very difficult to get into a Medicaid assisted living. And your income in this area has to be below 26,000.
Yeah.
And a month, and you cannot have payments other than a car.
All right, and then we've got another test. This one is regarding Medicare, whether or not it covers assisted living. And the answer is no. Medicare comes into play for short-term rehab stays and skilled nursing. And those are, it's conditional. You have to have like a 3-night qualifying stay at a hospital.
It's usually 21 days.
Yep.
Short-term rehab.
And Medicare covers 100% days 1 through 20, and you can get up to 100 days if you're progressing, but then your secondary insurance kicks in and blah, blah, blah. The point is, Medicare has nothing to do with assisted living. The end. Okay. All right. And we're just going to touch on payment sources and a Knollwood comparison, and then we're in that home stretch. So independent, you're going to be paying out of pocket, private pay, personal funds, and assisted living, same thing, personal funds. If you have a long-term care health insurance policy, like Heidi mentioned, it could kick in assisted living. In general, you're going to have some kind of elimination period, and you have to be getting help with certain number of activities of daily living. But in assisted living, that's where you would be doing that. So you get through your elimination period, and then you can start filing claims.
If you are getting care at home now and you have long-term care insurance, be sure that you're getting your claim in. Because you could be using up that elimination period now,
Right now.
depending on your policy.
Yeah.
And I have talked to several people that are not aware or just not thinking about that. They've got care at home, they're paying out of pocket, and they think that they're gonna do this when they move to the next step. But you can go ahead and get that policy rolling now, and it will be to your benefit for when you do need assisted living.
Absolutely. And then we're just gonna do a little bit of comparison here at Knollwood. We've talked a little bit about some of these things already, so it might be a wee bit redundant, but bear with us. We are almost there. So just under 70% of the people here are independent, singles and couples, variety of apartment size homes, so many, it makes the two of our heads spin. Efficiencies all the way up to large 2 bedrooms.
That are bigger than any house I've lived in.
Yes, I mean, crazy. And then of course, priority for access to assisted living, rehab, long-term care, and memory care. Then we've got assisted living and skilled, which is 31%,
Mostly singles.
mostly singles.
So they're gonna be, they say studios, but they are a separation.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
a
living
one
room, one
bedroom.
bedroom.
In assisted living, it is a 1 bedroom. That's what we call it. That's what's on our literature. We have very few floor plans. Majority of them are gonna be a particular style.
We do have some walkout terraces, which I haven't seen in a lot of the communities that I've worked at. This is only an assisted. I wish we had them in independent. But you can actually walk out of your apartment into a little terrace area, which is really a nice feature. Not all of the apartments have those. I don't think we have any available at the moment, but they are something that we have.
They're nice, yeah. And then we are deficiency free, so that's great. And again, priority of access to care.
And rehab, we have a rehab gym right here on site.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you're in independent living, assisted living, or our short-term rehab, you can get full-time rehab here. I know sometimes when people go to rehab, to get rehab, they'll get PT maybe once or twice a day, and then they're laying in bed the rest of the day. And it's kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah.
And here, you can be doing the activities to keep you strong and go to rehab. So it's really a great way to help with her.
Absolutely. We're gonna finish it up. Please, please, please call us on the phone. Our marketing line is 202-541-0149 to schedule an in-person tour. It's no pressure. Just start the process of looking at your options, come in, get to know us. We can show you what Knollwood's all about. Definitely consider joining our waiting list if you want Knollwood as an option for the future. Please don't come to us and say, oh, I just sold my house, I'm ready to move to Knollwood, because oh my gosh, we are not going to have an independent living apartment for you probably. So get on our waiting list. And then we are having a webinar next month, January 9th, and that's about it.
If you have any more questions, this is a great time to cue them in. Once again, just urging you to schedule a tour with us. I love that line. It's never too soon, but sometimes it can be too late.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we hope you have a very happy holidays.
Yes,
this is a really fun and exciting time of year.
Next year. Yes.
And I know it's super busy. We will be here other than Christmas. So if you would like to schedule time with us, please do so. Well, I guess that's not completely accurate. I'll be gone for a little while, but I'm going to see my family. But there will be some of us here in the office, and you're welcome to schedule tours. And I'm already right now currently scheduling tours all the way up into the first 2 weeks of January.
Just read that phone number again. I typed it in.
The phone number is 202-541-0149. That's our marketing line, sales and marketing. But yeah, call us, come in, do a tour. We'll show you. We don't have a lot of vacant apartments right now. We only have 2 to sell. So we'll show you what we can. But if you call us and give us a heads up, if you already have our materials, or you're like, hey Heidi, I would really like to see mid-sized 2-bedroom or whatever, we can see if we can call upon a resident. But please call us. Do not just walk in, because more, especially right now, we're just not gonna have the time to meet with you, and it's so important for us to get to know you and be able to give you a true tour of our community, so you really get a sense of what we have here.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so
Merry
much.
Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, what else did I say?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah,
Yes,
we'll see
happy
you in the new
everything.
year.
Just
Mhm.
hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And thank you
Yes.
for joining us. And if you missed any questions we didn't answer, you're welcome to call us or email us.
Anytime. Oh yeah, the webinar will be up on our website, via our YouTube channel, or a link to our YouTube channel in the next couple of days. So if you want to go back and rewatch it, it'll be there. Just check under the events tab on our website, knollwoodcommunity.org. All right, thanks everybody. Bye.
Bye.